So what can we do about relationship changes when we become parents? Well, it's not rocket science, but communication is always key. So here are some tips on how to communicate more effectively to help get things back on track. Being open and honest is so important. There's no point pretending you're fine if you're not, and there's no point hiding your resentment if it's constantly simmering beneath the surface. Giving each other space and time to adjust to your new roles is imperative. You have both been through huge changes and you need to find a new rhythm that works for you both in your new roles. If there's stuff you want to hash out, make sure you talk about it when you're calm, not angry or upset or you've been drinking alcohol, because those things will make you really emotional and you might not be able to get your point across. If the evenings don't feel like a good time to bring things up because of this, then perhaps try communicating via email. Email your partner at work. It is such a great way of getting your feelings across, as you've got the time to compose a well thought out message, and then your partner has time in which to read the message and respond to you. It cuts through all the awkwardness and the emotion which might confuse your message. If you're feeling resentful, try and explain it to your partner. Try and explain why you're feeling resentful and perhaps suggest some practical steps they can take to alleviate this feeling. Is it financial? Is it to do with their behaviour? Do you want them to be doing more or something different? Tell them. For me, it was the way that my husband would text me last minute and tell me he was going for drinks after work. But if I wanted to go for a drink, I had to plan it in advance. I had to ask him to come home early. I had to try and shower and get dressed while holding the baby. And it seemed so unfair. So I explained this to him and we agreed from then on he would ask me if he could go out rather than telling me. And it's such a small thing and it might seem petty to some people, but it felt so important to me and it immediately removed a whole layer of resentment from our relationship. If sleep is a big issue, then there are some things you can do. Some of us are early birds and some of us are late owls, but we all need a certain amount of sleep to function well and stay healthy. And there are lots of things your partner can do to support you practically and emotionally, early morning or late at night. So I would encourage you to have a think, discuss this and try and make a plan that works for you. If you've got a partner with a job that demands they get 8 hours sleep, maybe they're a brain surgeon or a pilot or a tightrope walker, then perhaps they really do need their sleep and, maybe they sleep in a different room if you have one available. But if their job's a little more flexible or they can still function well with a bit less sleep, like you have to, then perhaps you can talk them into doing a feed in the night or getting up in the night with your little one if they're still waking. If you're exclusively breastfeeding, then obviously that won't work, but there are things they can do to help. Burping the baby, changing nappies, getting them back to sleep, or perhaps they can take over the early morning shifts and let you get the extra sleep. If it's the mental load that's getting you down, then explaining the concept and the effects the load's having on your mental health can be so important. It's such an obvious concept when someone spells it out, but if you don't spell it out, then maybe they haven't ever thought about it. Explain that you need relief from being in charge of everything and maybe delegate some line items to them. If they take off some of the mental load, it is guaranteed to improve relations at home because you'll feel respected and valued and heard. I hope this has been helpful. So look out for my video on the mental load, and for more like this, check out my courses.